how are we feeling today?
Good.
Okay. I'd just like to, firstly, before I start my presentation, which is entitled "How stressed are we in the North East?" I thought I'd ask how happy we are instead, and look at it from that angle rather than thinking about mental ill health. Let's think about mental well-being. So I'll start my presentation shortly, but I'd just like to talk about LARIA, which is the Local Area Research Intelligence Association. This organisation works across the spectrum, looking at various issues in society, education, health being one of them, housing, anything within local government, and it tries to improve the lives lives in local areas through the use of local research, intelligence and policy. And we do this by having high quality, robust data, intelligence, and promoting standards and excellence in research. So I'd just like to bring your attention to LARIA if you've not heard of it before. I hadn't heard of it until last year when I presented research led by Professor Claire Bamber on interventions to reduce health inequalities in obesity outcomes in children and adults. So I presented the findings from that NIHR-funded systematic review last March in York, and they said to me, as the only person from the North East, we need someone to volunteer to become the North East representative to run a series of local networking events and to bring together researchers from local government, from academia, policy practice, and just to raise the profile. So that's essentially what I'm doing. So I agreed to become the North East representative, and if you'd like to join, there are a number of different membership options. It's a voluntary, not for-profit organisation, so we do depend on the membership fees. The fees are very low, so £10 for full membership as an individual. We also have corporate membership options from £80. But you can also join as an associate member, which is completely free of charge, and you can attend the local networking events. One is happening on the 12th of July at Newcastle Business School, which you're very welcome to attend, and if you'd like to, just see me. And equally, if you'd like to join as an associate member or a full member, which gives you the full membership benefits, so it includes signing the LARIA Charter and being able to vote at LARIA Council meetings, then that's £10. Again, just come and see me if you've got any questions. So LARIA has co-sponsored this event today. So moving on to my presentation on how stressed are we in the North East. As I said, I thought, I don't want to start with something so negative. I was really disappointed, Emily, that you didn't show the picture that you showed at the first Stress SIG event, which is a picture, I think it was outside someone's house in Stockton. It was at Ted Schrecker that took a picture of it. It said, "Good morning, let the stress begin." So that's what I've tweeted for this event. Hopefully you won't feel stressed, but there is a stress relieving activity at lunchtime which will be facilitated by Yvonne Hall from St Anthony's Priory, which I'm really excited and looking forward to. I've been to St Anthony's Priory to the Wellbeing event, and it's absolutely excellent what they do there, and I won't ruin it, but please do make sure you attend that. Okay, so I have a personal and professional interest in mental health, the promotion of mental health, and reduction of inequalities in mental health. I've not as yet done any research directly related to stress, but I'm interested in psychosocial stress as a causal factor in the production of health inequalities, which is why I joined the Stress Special Interest Group led by Emily. And so I came along to that first meeting a few months ago with two sort of factors in mind in terms of my interest. So I'm interested in how, firstly, stress is unequally distributed. So I'm looking at population level stress and health outcomes rather than focusing on the individual. And Gregor and Emily nicely talks about that shift from sort of looking at the individual to the more of the structural issues related to health inequalities. So I'm interested in how stress manifests at population level and is perpetuated by disadvantage, so economic disadvantage, so looking at the interplay between the materialist explanation of health inequalities and the psychosocial. So that's where I'm coming from in terms of my perspective. So here are the stress-related outcomes that I'll be looking at, and I'm just going to give you a snapshot just to take stock of where we are currently in terms of our stress levels in the North East region. So I've got a few different outcomes that I'll be looking at, which I've listed here, but as I said, I wanted to look at how happy we are first and start with a more positive, on a more positive note. So this data has been taken from the annual population survey on personal well-being, which I've retrieved from the Office for National Statistics. As you can see, it's broken down by the 9 regions in England, and the North East has the highest proportion of low levels of happiness. So 11 just over 11.5% compared to say just over 8% in the South East. So you can see the distribution is sort of skewed towards the North, the North East, North West, and Yorkshire and Humber. So we have high levels of unhappiness, and that's not to do with the sort of local sort of election results. This was taken in 2013 and 14. And if we look sort of within region as well, so I thought I'd just take a snapshot of County Durham. This is the average rating for happiness. So the lower proportion in County Durham is shaded, the lighter shading here, compared to sort of better ratings across the country. So we're not performing particularly well in County Durham on happiness, nor are we performing well in terms of stress-related condition for anxiety. So if we look at anxiety, based on this data from the annual population survey, we're sort of in the middle. So we're not performing the worst, we're not performing the best, but we do have 40% of low levels of anxiety in our region, which is a huge proportion. And more than a quarter of people in County Durham, so if we look again within the region, rated their anxiety levels as 9 or 10, so it's out of a scale of 0 to 10. So not doing very well in anxiety. And the North East Strategic Health Authority in 2012, I think it was, had the highest admission rate. So if we look at the hospital episode statistics data, the highest admission rate of any of the other strategic health authorities for anxiety-related hospital admissions. So the rate was 24 per 100,000 of the population, compared to only 11 per 100,000 of the population in the South East. So we're not doing well in the North East at all. And then thinking about psychosocial stress, so this measure was taken again from the annual population survey, and it uses the general health questionnaire. So this measure asks respondents 12 questions about their recent feelings, and if you score between, if you get a score of 4 or more, that shows that it indicates that the individual is experiencing symptoms of mild to moderate levels of anxiety or depression. So this is the proportion of people within the region that score 4 or more in that survey question. So as you can see in the North East, again not doing particularly well, but not as badly as some of the other regions. And very interestingly, London always seems to perform well in most health outcomes, but for psychosocial stress it exceeds us. Psychosocial ill health exceeds us. But again, we're not doing too well, sort of in the middle from moderate levels of anxiety and depression in the North East. So Gregor mentioned Richard Wilkinson's spirit level hypothesis, whereby income inequality produces psychosocial stress, which leads to deteriorating health and high levels of mortality. So that reminds me of the June North Inquiry, that quotation, life is not grim up north, but we just have less time to enjoy it. So our mortality levels are through the roof. So it got me thinking about the psychosocial sort of mechanisms through which stress affects health and then therefore produces health inequalities. So stress can affect health through the development of mental ill health by leading to sort of sleeplessness through to clinical depression and at the extreme level self-harm and suicide. It can also affect physical health through high levels of cortisol, which can lead to things like CPD, which has already been mentioned. But the consequences extend beyond the individual. You know, there are societal consequences of these ill health, mental and physical ill health effects of stress. So it leads to sickness, absence, costing up to 13 billion in the UK alone, and lost productivity levels. So if I just quickly look at the number of working days lost due to stress at a regional level, if we look at the North East, there are 0.55 working days lost on average due to stress. I think I read somewhere that every 2 minutes a worker in the UK is made ill through stress at work, every 2 minutes. So if we have a higher rate than the national average of 0.42, then that's probably more like every minute and a half or so a worker is made ill through stress and have to take a day off. Okay. So I've only got 5 minutes left and I do want to allow some time for questions, so I've made it short. But just to summarise, stress and related conditions, so anxiety, depression, they are universal, but they are unequally distributed. If we look at the regional data that we've got, so they're unequally distributed across areas, across social classes, and stress varies in terms of degree and kind. So as Claire mentioned, you know, the Whitehall studies showed that it was the lowest social classes that had the highest levels of stress related to sort of low control at work, little reward. So, you know, stress might occur at the higher sort of social class sort of spectrum, but that might be related to sort of stress related to, you know, promotion or so on, or having more control perhaps. So there are disproportionately high levels of stress, anxiety, depression in the North East compared to other parts of the country, and within the region we have unequal we have health inequality within our region, which Amy will shortly talk about in relation to a local project in Stockton. But to sum up, you know, the psychosocial perspective is absolutely crucial. We need to be considering this, and I'm very happy to hear that it's on the Public Health England agenda, in addition to and alongside sort of materialist explanations and others. So it's a really important issue. So thanks for listening. Here's the website for LARIA. As I said, if you have any questions about LARIA, if you'd like to become a member, and if you'd like to attend the local networking event on the 12th of July, you'd be very welcome. Thank you very much.